Justin, what did you feel like was the turning point of this game tonight?
His run, I mean, unreal. He was stiff-arming people left and right. I've never seen anything like it.
What was it like inside that huddle ahead of that game-sealing drive?
It's been like that all day, man. Everybody know what time it is. We treated this game like a playoff, and I'm real proud of my teammates for how they fought today.
I'm proud of the Chargers, too.
Yeah.
Good job, guys. Welcome to Heed the Call. I'm Dan Hanzus with the great Marc Sessler, who's wearing Levi, which just tells you that this is going to be a special show.
You asked me to.
Yeah, and it looks great. It looks as great as it ever has, maybe even better.
You requested it on our, in a previous episode, and I want to fulfill your dreams and your wishes. So,
Justin Herbert and Gus Edwards there with Kaylee Hartung on the penultimate Thursday Night Football of the season. A 34-27 win for the Los Angeles Chargers over the Denver Broncos. Broncos had a chance to clinch a playoff spot, but that will have to wait. And now the Chargers knocking on the door of a return to the playoffs under Jim Harbaugh. Both teams 9-6. And what I meant by that, Sessdog, is, good for the Chargers. I'm happy for the Chargers. I'm happy for Chargers fans, and we could have fun with who are the Chargers fans? And yeah, there were more Broncos fans at SoFi Stadium today. However, yes, there are Chargers fans because this has been a fan base over, they've been around since 1960 or so, and so many years, especially in our football watching years, the last 20, 30 years or so, the Chargers, especially after a difficult first half, coming off a blowout loss at home last week, it certainly felt like a little bit of a chargering scenario. And yet, for them to flip this game on its ear, for the defense to come to life in the second half, and then for Justin Herbert to lead the way on a 90-yard drive to put the game away, this felt different, and this is why the Chargers feel different with Jim Harbaugh at the head of the table.
Yeah, like we had asked for this, even in our midweek show with Connor, Chargers start to become what Jim Harbaugh's promised. And you came off a lashing by the Bucs. And I think teams at this stage of the season, you go one of two ways. Like that takes you down and you're like, we know who we are and we're out. But this, I can think of you, Dan, going back to our old show, you would ask for so often, so many times for Justin Herbert to step up and have a game that kind of cement like a bookmark game. Show us who you are. Who's your personality? What are you? Be tough, be ribaldry. And here we go. And this was 21-6. They outscored Denver in the second half tonight. And it really was a game that felt a little bit lost for them. And they turn it around. And it really had to do with the quarterback. And this makes me believe that they are on the right path. I don't know what it means for this year and the playoffs this year, but just it's about I had asked in the midweek show for the Harbaugh experience to be part of this, and I think we got it tonight.
So yeah, and that's what I mean when this game is going a certain way before that, before halftime. It really did feel like, Jim Harbaugh was supposed to make the Chargers different,
right?
And instead of different, you get, instead of the same old thing, you get a totally different vibe for this team. And the way they turn... What's up? Who cares about anything?
We do need to talk about this, yeah.
Who cares about anything that happened in this dumb game? The only thing that matters is Dicker, the kicker. In fact, it all ties together because this whole game on some level turns on an obscure NFL rule that leads to the Chargers making the NFL's first fair catch kick since 1976.
Wild.
Outrageous. And I don't know how much love we've given to Cameron Dicker on the show the last couple of years, but he is a very, very good kicker. And when that played out the way it did, it looked like the Chargers were going to go into halftime down 11. Just can't get a stop on defense. Offense sputtering. Herbert throws a bad interception near the red zone. And after a quick 3-and-out by the Broncos, they're punting it away. There's triple zeros on the clock. but a fair catch interference penalty sets up one of the, and this I love, and I know you love it too, Mark, because you like the bizarre, cutting through the mundane nature of life, and especially the mundane nature of an NFL regular season when it's December 19th. For that to play out the way it did, and I got to give a shout out. Who is Justin? Who is is it Terry McCauley? Is he the rules guy?
That sounds right.
No, you're the producer. Go look it up.
Oh,
Well, also that's also just an open-ended question to Justin that sets him up for, he's trying to do lots of things, buttons.
He's like, yes, please hold. I'll let you know. Terry McCauley? That was the Super Bowl for the rules analyst. And in a huge spot, is it Terry McCauley?
yes.
Terry McCauley comes up huge. He knows exactly what's happening. He knows that the Chargers have two options there. They could take over possession of the ball and throw a Hail Mary, because you can't, a half cannot end on a defensive penalty, or you could get a free kick. And Mark, to the credit of Dicker the kicker, he pipes it from 57, and it ends up being a huge kick, because I know the Broncos scored the first points of the second half, but it did feel like some of the mojo of the game shifted in a very unique scenario.
I think so too. And I had this question.
Terry McCauley. Go ahead. Sorry.
This is the last attempted one of these, and people in the chat are asking like what this even means. Like so this hasn't been attempted since 2019. So if you fair catch a kick with no time left, you have a chance to free kick it from wherever the spot was. And so like that's what happened there. And it's very rare. And like I have to say this, like I was kind of wondering this, and let me know what you think, but like I don't know if I think every coach knows enough to know this is an option, but the fact that it's not happened in 5 years and half a decade, and it hasn't been successful since the 70s. Like I think that this is an unusual Harbaugh obsession type of scenario where like they went for it in this one moment, and you're right that it was a game altering moment. It's faith in your kicker, but it was also just knowing the rules. And like I almost wonder like if the refs are like, wait, what are we trying to do here? Thank you, Justin. Like, well, I'll attempt to make a comment, and you'll sit there on 14 edibles, like just unspooling anything.
That's big man Mark.
No,
that's not funny, Mad Mark.
This was like a really unusual moment in the NFL season, and I just don't know if every coaching staff gets this right. And
Justin, this is a moment that requires gravitas, and your little drops are not worthy during Mark's monologue, okay?
I love you, Justin. So
he said knowing the rules very well, so it seemed like an appropriate moment to hit Terry. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I get it. Well, it's also we get it that it's your paramour that voiced that, so it's like let's get her. But it's all nice. But like,
all right.
Anyways,
wait. So
can I just say, like, I think this really was a pretty Jim Harbaugh moment, like obsession, power, fire.
And you
right?
hope. I know it. You hope if your coaching staff doesn't know the situation, then you got to get the coaching staff out of the building because there's only 32 jobs and 32 coaching staffs at the highest level of professional football. I'm expecting them to know the rules, right? But angriest with this comment, scoregami is the successful fair catch kick of points. This is the shit I care about. This is the scoregami I like. It's like,
sure.
Wait, something hasn't happened in goddamn 48 years? Give me all that. I'll take all that you got of the free kick field goal from 57 out. And in all seriousness, like it did feel like it changed the energy.
I so agree.
And it went, that went straight into the half. And then when the Chargers came out of the tunnel, and I'm not saying it's because of the free kick, but sports are funny sometimes. The fact that a different team showed up is just, that's sports common man. Like I love that you could go into a tunnel and then come out a different team. Now, in fairness, it's not just pixie dust, right? It's not like Jim Harbaugh is the head coach, and he's hired a coaching staff that can go into a tunnel, go into a locker room, make adjustments. And it's not like he's coaching against Jeff Ulbrich on the other side, right? He's coaching against a guy that is a big-time coach in his own right, and Sean Payton. So that's what this game's about. Do I think that either of these teams are Super Bowl bound? No. Do I think the Broncos are going to crater? No, but it got a little interesting. We're going to get to that. The AFC playoff picture finally has maybe a little bit of juice to it, but the Chargers have leadership, and Justin Herbert, God bless him. And I'm watching the game with my father-in-law, Bob Bates, DDS, and we're just like enjoying Herbert again as like the ultimate male, like as a quarterback. It's
Yeah,
like,
it really is.
This
In many
guy,
ways, yeah.
6'6".
Yeah.
Also, again, this is coming off the fiasco of watching that holiday film where my wife was commenting on the size of the feet of the male lead.
You're not going to win in either of these scenarios.
And now, and then tonight, I have my wife and my mother-in-law saying how cute Justin Herbert is during the post-game interview.
And he's also we don't need it. He's like the size of a human. Like I'm with you, where it's like the one thing about watching football, it's like with the night I watch it with my girlfriend's like that, and then you got Kirk Herbstreit's freaking out, like that's a giant man. He's 6'7". It's like, you know what? I don't need the. It's not the PR. I don't need the PR angle here.
But he is. He is, and I know I've been a little harder on Herbert than like the football cognoscenti wanted to put Justin Herbert in the Hall of Fame after a couple spirals.
Yeah.
What I've needed to see is moments like this, moments like that final 90-yard drive. And in his defense, it wasn't his fault that it hasn't happened to this point in 5 years. Every quarterback needs the right system and the right coach, and I think he finally has that. So that's what I take out of this game more than anything else, Mark, that the Chargers are dangerous because there's finally some professionalism connected to this incredibly talented quarterback that has every tool you would ever want in a franchise passer. Charisma, maybe he's lacking that, but he's got everything else. And you saw when it was time to close out the game how he was able to lead them to the promised land. So if I'm a Chargers fan and it's been a rough go, especially the last 10 years, really the last 60 years, but the last 10 years specifically, I'm feeling really good right now. If I'm a Chargers fan, I'm like, we're going in the right direction. I got a grown-up leading the way. I got a 26-year-old quarterback play his balls off in a big spot now. And you give him a couple more players around Ladd McConkey and keep that offensive line, the Chargers are in a good spot.
Yeah,
good for them.
We've needed that. I'm with you because I think with both of these teams, they're kind of similar to me in the sense that you're in a division that's been dominated by the Chiefs for ages. And so like progress, I'm not so concerned about where the final destination is this year, but like now these two have become formidable because I think Sean Payton equally has done an incredible coaching job and changed the way you feel about the Broncos. And so someone had to stumble tonight. But, I think it's interesting that the Chargers, with so many similar defensive players as the previous coaching staff, which their whole mantra was like, we're going to take the defense and make them formidable. And they were a disaster. The highest paid defense in the league, a complete disaster. And tonight, you go after that first half, and I think you're right.
It's a bad first half.
That bad first half, but then you hold them to a field goal, a punt, and then a field goal that meant very little at the end. And it's like, I think that mattered. Like, you've now swept the Denver Broncos. So, by the way, like, that's huge because it's not that different than if the Steelers ever would beat the Ravens this weekend. Like, just get to the same record as them. You're in. And, like, they're both going to, it's like we're there. But, like, I believe in the Chargers in terms of a mission statement with this coaching staff.
All right, hold that thought right there. It's a good place to take a brief break, and we'll be right back to get to the Broncos side of things, which is interesting as well.
Are you playing on Underdog yet? There's so many ways to get in on the action, whether it's higher, lower, pick'em entries, daily drafts, or season-long tournaments. And it's not just the NFL. The NBA is back. You've got NHL, college sports, so many options. So don't miss out. Just scan the QR code on your screen to download and play on the Underdog app. Or if you're not watching on YouTube, sign up with the code HTC, our show, and you can receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. Make the most of your sports fandom by playing along on Underdog. For our U.S. audience only.
All right, we're back. So the Chargers.
By the way, like I feel like I seem like Patty Hearst in that ad read. Have I just been kidnapped and taken up the coast? What was going on there? Like, I need to read.
I don't know. I mean, you did the read.
Well, I get that.
Only
but
you could speak on behalf of yourself in
well,
that situation.
we do the show and then we rip those out after, and it's kind of like, the clock is ticking. Like I should put more thought in that because those get replayed over and over. It's like, let's put a little more work into those. And
now let me build up some tension within the group. Justin, do you think Mark has to be better on the ad reads?
well, I say I do.
Do you agree?
I think we can all always be better, right?
Thank you,
We're never
Justin. I agree.
100% perfect. That said, I do think it functions great as is. So we could keep using it, but we could redo it as well. Either
Diplomatic.
way.
You know what?
Diplomatic.
I'm glad that we talked this out. Mark, you're going to have to stay behind after the taping to redo all of your
Well,
edits.
it's not going to happen tonight. No, it would be a different time. Push it down the road. That's what I do.
All right, so the Broncos fall to 9-6. The Broncos could have clinched a playoff spot. Instead, see their 4-game winning streak snapped. But they're okay. They still have an 85% chance of making the playoffs. But the schedule is a little... Let's just keep an eye on it. And I'm not rooting against the Broncos. I think the Broncos are a good story in their own right. And even, again, in my conversations with my father-in-law, Bob Bates, DDS,
That should
retired.
be one of our Patreon, like just you and him talking, ball and whatever else is happening.
It would be a quiet kind of... A less propulsive podcast, but maybe a great one. I'll think about it. But you have two quarterbacks, and you're watching Herbert, who's, again, like the ultimate male and like the prototype for what you would want your quarterback to look like. That's not necessarily Bo Nix, but Nix had, mostly in the first half, of course, reminded you why the Broncos are in very good hands, too, in their long term. But in the short term, they have Cincinnati on the schedule. And they have the Chiefs on the schedule in Week 18. Do we have a tweet that has a little more depth on this? Yeah, Bert had this. If the Chargers hang on, things blah blah blah. They did. The Bengals are 6-8. They play. Oh, look at Mark. Look at us talking about the Bengals playoff hopes on December 19th. It kills you, doesn't it?
Via Bert. So
the Bengals are 6-8. They play the Browns on Sunday, 7-8. Denver the next week. So if they beat the Broncos. Denver's still 85% chance, but if you're looking for a little bit of juice, Bengals stomp the Browns, and then we get a little bit of juice after that. But Denver is still in a good place. So here we go. And I think it's a disappointing loss for the Broncos on their side of it, Mark, because it just felt like everything was locked in. They score in their first 3 drives. They're up 21-10. Will Lutz hits a field goal midway through the third quarter. They're up 24-13, and then it all goes away. And I hadn't seen that, and I think I don't think this is even the worst thing for the Broncos because I think how you react to adversity, they didn't react well tonight, but hopefully they learn from it, and then you have a very good coaching staff in Denver. And next time they're in this spot, maybe they handle it different. But this is kind of a little bit of growing pains we saw in this game, I thought, for a Broncos team that's been an upstart unit that had a chance to punch their ticket today. It will have to wait, and we'll see how they react from probably a very frustrating loss. And I'm sure that locker room was not a pleasant place.
I guess the most surprising part is the defense, which has been incredible. You give up a 10-play touchdown drive, a 7-play touchdown drive, a 6-play 90-yard touchdown drive. Like, that's uncharacteristic for what we've been viewing from Denver, but division game, and no one knows better than Sean Payton that, like, this stuff happens. But you're right. Like, I think these are two teams that are growing up before our eyes, and, like, I don't really need to judge them finally tonight. Like, they're going to get into the playoffs. Like, we'll see what happens. I will say one thing, though, about the Bengals. Like, because I've been trying to fork them, but what team scares you more? The Bengals, the Broncos, or the Chargers? If you had to go face one of them, like, I know the answer. I know what my answer is, and it's not one of the two teams we saw tonight.
The Bengals, the Broncos, or the Chargers?
The Bengals, I do not want to deal with at any time, anywhere. They're kind of like
they're
like a drunken uncle that might just go punch out the entire family and drive a car off a cliff. Like, they could do anything. I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah, they're the berserker team,
right?
Most likely, unless somebody gags, and then all of a sudden they could be playing on Saturday wildcard weekend. I still think it's a long shot. But yeah, we should talk about, before we get out of here, Mark, what precipitated the 90-yard touchdown drive that put this game away for the Chargers was a decision by Sean Payton, a guy that you kind of see as the guy's not afraid to put his trust in the offense. But he blinked in this game. The Broncos take over in the fourth quarter, and they go 3 and out, and they punt the ball away on 4th and 6 from the Denver 49. So they're at midfield with 4.5 minutes to go, and they execute the punt beautifully. In fact, it was a 41-yard punt caught by Davis, I think inside the 10-yard line. But according to this 4th down decision bot, which I don't trust, I'll be the first one to say it.
Well, it's a
robot.
We're dealing with drones. We're dealing with AI. People's jobs are being taken away by AI.
I ain't buying it. Yeah, but anyway,
but if you're
go
young
for
and
it.
nerdy and you're white, you love these little things. So have a good time.
Well, you could be any color and love these things if you're young and nerdy. Mark? It's
I have a few people in my
nearly.
mind. I have some people in my mind that I'm.
I understand
of.
that.
Yeah,
but I understand that. But we don't need to put color
Take me
on
out
everything.
back. Take me out back. That's fine.
Down 3, 4th and 6, 51 yards from the opponent end zone. Go for it. Your winning percentage is 26%, 39% success rate. Punt 21%. So it's not like it's an overwhelming thing. But you had a chance there, I thought, to really put a stamp on the game and take it. And instead, you put it in the hands of your defense, and then the defense let you down. So I'm sure Peyton was asked about it after the game. Justin, I don't know if it's out there or anything, but that is frustrating. I don't think that was egregious or anything by Peyton, but those decisions, especially in the modern NFL, they get scrutinized more than ever. And when you're near midfield and you have a choice to make to let your quarterback/offense put you in the driver's seat or trust your defense, man, I'm usually going to trust, if I like my quarterback and I trust my scheme, I'd rather be the aggressor rather than literally be on the defensive. And we saw how it worked, because once the Chargers took over, it's 1st and 10 at their own 10, a run for no gain, incomplete. It's 3rd and 10 on the Chargers 10, and then things get crazy. Herbert scrambles, huge, biggest play of the game, 16 yards, first down. Now they're at the 26. Gus Edwards up the middle for 43 yards, a huge run and a huge spot for
longest run of
the
his
Chargers.
career, I believe.
Wow. And then they're all of a sudden at the Denver 31. Edwards again, -3 yards. Timeout by Denver. And then on 2nd and 13 at the Denver 34, Herbert hits Haskins for 34 yards, touchdown, and the game is over. It got away quickly from the Broncos in this one.
I'd love to go, if we. I don't want to have drinks with Sean Payton, but if you could go out and
I would love to have drinks.
They would be
drinks with Sean. You would love that.
He
Stop.
gave me COVID, I think, actually, at the combine.
Well,
he was one of the
allegedly.
first people to get COVID, but
one of the great. We got to talk about this now.
Yeah.
We were at, what was the league event? Was it the owners' meetings?
Yeah, it was no, it was the combine. It was Indianapolis.
It was Indianapolis,
Yep.
and we
Well,
were at
that's when all
the
this was,
hotel. It was later in the evening. We're at the hotel bar. It's the hub of activity, and it was our whole crew. And I remember looking at Wes, where's Mark? Where's Mark? And we turn, and then there's the deep corner of this lobby has a collection of some of the brightest minds in coaching in the National Football League. And then Sessler, and here's the thing you got to know about Mark. I hope everybody on the live stream at some point gets to hang out with Mark when he's, 3 sheets to the wind, or 4 or 7. And
Multiple sheets.
And he floats over. It's like there's a skip. There's a jaunty skip to Mark when he's overserved. He literally skips into the middle of this circle of coaches and just starts conversating. And we're like, what is he saying? What is he talking about? And to your credit, Mark, it was, if 100 people did what you did, 98 of those people, and maybe 99, get cast out immediately.
Yeah.
But these coaches, who are all also very drunk.
It was Bill O'Brien, Sean Payton. Who else was it? It wasn't Kyle Shanahan, but it was someone in that milieu. Yep.
They welcomed you.
Tolerated.
And I remember you being in that converse circle.
Can we say tolerated? Can we say tolerated?
Well, I tolerated. I wasn't there. I was from a distance. But yes, and Sean Payton was in that crew. So maybe you guys are tight. I don't know.
But for truth, because that did happen.
It did.
But this was literally a completely different event in Indy, in that gigantic Indianapolis bar where Jerry Jones is there with his bus outside, right? What's
at
the
the
name
Marriott, yeah.
Well, but no, it's the famous indie combine bar. But like, it was right before COVID.
Prime Steakhouse.
It was Prime. It was right
Yeah.
before COVID blew up hardcore, and like Sean Payton was exiting out of the bar, and I said, like, Coach, how are you? Good to see you. And he's like, hey, man, good to see you. I'll be right back in a minute to talk with you. No, you won't. But, like, we shook hands, but then a news story came out that he caught COVID the next day, and we're flying out, and I had put my glass of wine. I had picked up a girl's glass of wine. There was like some luxurious.
Of course, it had to be a girl's glass of wine.
Well, no, but she was a luxurious girl sitting with her gal pal. Like,
sex addiction?
You wanted to touch her wine glass.
Sex, you addicted to sex?
I would just more say that it was late in the night, but I
sick.
just picked up her glass
Yeah.
and just took a huge sip of it and put it down. Then she was like, "I'm done with that glass." But then, in a good job by her, because Peyton, we learned, had COVID the next day, and I had shook hands with him, and then, imbibed from someone else's glass. So these are multiple events with Sean Payton, and we've also never really had a respectful conversation. So
I don't even know what we're talking about anymore. But Sean Payton,
these are experiences.
he has to live with regret. Justin, jump in, because I'm having a conversation with Mark, and then a text screen pops up in all caps. It just says liar. And I'm like, who's he even talking about? What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah, you're supposed to be looking at those. Sean Payton said he thought about going for it on 4th and 6, but decided to punt instead. Sean Payton said, we got to be smarter. We got to be smarter as coaches as well. Sean Payton said, the Broncos practice fair catch kicks, quote, all the time. That's where the all caps liar came. You all the time. What is all the time? Once in the install of the offense and special team stuff in August?
Is he talking about just in general? They're working on the punting drills, and you're working on fair catch kicks, right? Oh, no, it's fair catch. You're right. That is a lie. That's a big fat lie. Sean Payton would never lie, right?
I don't think so. I don't believe so.
All right. Anything else on this game? Good game.
I ain't buying it.
After a very rough Week 15 primetime slate, where we're back on the horse in Week 16, and we only have one more TNF game left.
Yeah, I think that's my note. It's just like we were just doing our opening show, and suddenly we've got one more TNF game.
I like this one. Ryan Adamson. Mark, with his unassuming charm, wins the day with a high society of NFL coaches. I believe it. It happened. I've seen it happen. I've seen Mark, as long as I've known Mark, which is like 15 years, barge into conversations at bars with total strangers that he has no business. It could be people that it looks like they're discussing the death of a loved one, and Mark will float in doing this thing, and then I'll be like, oh no, oh shit, and then all of a sudden, 10 minutes later, all three of those people, or all six of those people, are in conversation. It's a skill you have, Mark.
Well, I've married one of their daughters by the end of the night. Like, that's like, it's, I don't know how I am experiencing enjoyment.
Anything from the chat? And thank you to everybody that's on the chat right now.
There's
very
one
cool.
I definitely wanted to hit here from Sid Home 80.
Am I misremembering, or did Mark compare Herbert to Michael Jordan at some point of time on the former show?
Well,
I don't know if this is a victory lap night, but go ahead.
I did, and like, I think I got, and now I'm very immune to this, but I got caught in the like super nerd world where like everyone's fanning out over the same person, but I also saw it in Justin Herbert with my own eyes, and I now realize like you've got to slow your roll a little bit. Give it 4 or 5 years. We don't need to announce people. And Anthony Richardson is one of these. It's like before someone's played a game and everyone's just like nerding out and like their bodies are on fire and like the blood vessels are going. It's like, let's just calm down. Let's give it a little bit of time.
Because what happens is, and we're seeing that with Richardson, is that if the player doesn't match up with the hype, then you have two choices. If you're in the Twitter echo chamber, you could either admit like, hey, maybe I jumped the gun on this, or you could dig your heels in and start saying, oh, you're not watching the game, or this guy, they're dropping all the passes and blah, blah, blah. But I think Herbert, if he were MJ, and MJ is one of one, he would have been lighting up the league.
Football is completely different than basketball.
He would have been lighting up the league.
And it's called Patrick Mahomes.
Well, no, like,
right? I mean,
but Mahomes was pretty young. He started winning right away. Like the NFL equivalent of MJ would be a guy almost like closer to Marino, maybe, where you're lighting up the league statistically. Like Jordan was the most gifted, exciting player in the NBA for 7 years before he won, but it wasn't until Phil Jackson showed up and they put a couple more pieces around him that he became a champion on top of being the best player.
Yep.
That has been Herbert's arc. He's never been the guy that has the biggest stat line or like the face of the league. Jordan was the face of the league before he won a title. It was only when he won a title when he went nuclear. But I think that's why Jordan is hard for anybody to live
There's
up
no,
to.
and
He's
it's
just
and he's
different.
comp-
Sounds
too
a
many
little
people.
like Peyton Manning. Peyton was like lamented for the first 6-8 years of his career for never winning the big one.
And he had the numbers, but he didn't have the juice that Jordan had.
Yeah, like I think, like so. I'm
Jordan
with
had
you.
juice.
I'm with Dan on
Lamar?
this. Like, no, it's not. Well, actually, I'd say this: if Lamar suddenly won a Super Bowl, and like, so part of the reason that you get
4
Jordan
or 5 or 6.
well, right,
Super
but if you
Bowls,
get Jordan breaking down in tears, like literally shaking, his body shaking when he won a title, it's because of everything you just said, Dan, that like he was that good, but the team around him, the coaching, everything, it's like then he got the title on top of it. So
Right.
I kind of like Lamar in the sense that it's got to be someone that who has been dominant, but we're not ready to crown or whatever the word is.
Well,
because
Lamar
of the
also,
title.
like Peyton, had statistics, had trophies, but he's never been the face of the league. Like,
No.
that's what I mean. Jordan's like,
Well, I
everybody
think
wants
there
to
is
do
no-
it because it's fun, but yeah.
We don't have to have that came at a different time in sports, in literally a different sport. But like the Jordan experience, like I don't see an NFL player right now like that. I just don't, because they're overly celebrated before they do anything.
I mean, the closest thing to Jordan, honestly, was LeBron. Like, LeBron was a
Yep.
celebrated superstar. It took him some time. But LeBron needed to change teams and recruit his own. Anyway, we'll save it for...
To win one for Cleveland,
the
with
Jordan
LeBron,
podcast.
that's pretty close to
That
like
was
one
nice.
of the more.
That was different.
Pretty epic and heroic, yeah.
I love LeBron. I've enjoyed his whole career. But I'm just saying he had to go to Miami and recruit a super team to win his first one. But all right. Anyway, good stuff. Good stuff. What do you think, Justin, about that Soto deal? I mean, now we're just straight up sports talk radio.
I also just saw an incredible comment about Justin, but I'm not going to bring it up. But like,
well, you already did.
what? No, just in the chat. I don't think it's fair either. I think
Was
it's
it this
unfair.
one?
Yeah, that's not fair, Mark. It's not fair for you to say it than not.
Yeah, you know there's
Either say it or
audio.
you don't say it.
There's audio listeners who can't see the
Yeah,
chat.
go ahead, Mark. Now you're in too deep. Unless you want to really parachute out, and then we will.
No, I'll say, I believe that Justin
Oh, God.
Was it this one?
is a capable and yeah, it might be that
Christ.
one.
All right. Why did we do this? All right.
Watch on YouTube if you want to know what this comment says. Sucker.
I didn't mean to. Like, you
What
are
is
right.
happening?
I did not.
You guys need to have a sit down together. Or do I have to do I have to mediate it? Is that how it works now? Because we're...
Yes, I think.
All right. Thank you to everybody. It's stupid. Thank you to everybody. This is a good one. Bo Nix looks like one of those 35-year-old college kids in an 80s slasher movie. Kind of does. But I like
true.
Bo Nix too. Broncos are probably going to be okay. Chargers, they're flying high. And let's see where they go from here. Thank you to everybody for checking us out. Make sure you check out the Friday Patreon. If you haven't yet, check it out. And Sunday, flagship show. Till next time, heed the call.